not even in Excel sheets, but we actually helped quite a lot of companies to leapfrog the entire Web2 SaaS process to thinking about how to use AI to actually communicate with AI agent, almost like communicate with a personal assistant on that. In terms of back to your question, right, there's actually a lot of interesting moments we realized, okay, this thing is actually a very huge addressable market. It's not just one SaaS, addressable market, right? So if we talk about addressable market, Salesforce is like a couple of $100 billion focused on sales management. Customer support, all the other financial tooling is like tens of billions of dollars. I think AI, by talking to hundreds of companies now, I think we talked to over 1,000 companies, have 500 of them already working with us. And then obviously we got a research report. All the AI frontier models are really addressing the entire human labor market. That's 15 trillion US dollar of total market cap, right? All kinds of interesting workflow and all kinds of daily works and so on. Eventually, every single use cases, sooner or later will have one way or the other AI power, right? We will use AI embedded on that. And I think 2 or 3 years later, nobody will call ourselves an AI company. It's like nobody will call themselves an internet company now. But everybody was calling themselves internet company during the AI internet.com bubble, right? So I think we are in this interesting peak time to have the realization and user awareness. Next 2 years will be pretty exciting.
Well, for us, we apply AI agents in traditional industries. So what Charlie mentioned is essentially what we see pretty regularly. Many customers, many companies, they're not digitized to a high level. So I would say places where AI fell short are one, many knowledge or a lot of the industry know-hows, the knowledge exists only in their employees' head or like only in their people's mind. It's not documented, it's not digitized. So if you want to have an AI agent to learn the existing workflow and try to automate the workflow, it's essentially a training program or like an onboarding process that you need to, for us, it's like I learned the process myself. So I can be like a very good manager now at any retailer because I learned how they do data, how they do inventory management. And so I need to teach everything I learned from them to AI, and then the AI agent will be able to replicate. The other point is the edge cases. I would say AI agents can handle most of the repetitive, the regular day-to-day work. But if you don't pay attention, edge cases will kill your workflow very easily. So edge cases are pretty much what we see, day to day. It's almost our everyday job to deal with the edge cases.
I guess I would highlight the limitation today. The main limitation is they don't work. Until they work, we don't have much. But look, it's day one. I think the more important thing is what they can be, right? And I think if you're here in this room, you probably have an idea of what they can be. And I would just, the major comment I want to make is from a macro level. Charlie mentioned something earlier about a labor replacement. And one of the more cogent things that I've heard anybody say about the issue is, was that that we now have the ability, obviously, companies to do the same thing with fewer people, or you can do immensely more with more people. And it seems to me that those are going to be the winners, and that was Jack Dorsey.
So for me, I think AI sometimes has the memory confusion. So once I use AI to rent an event venue, so via the email, right? At the beginning, I confirmed that I want to use it for 4 hours, but for anyhow, the AI told them I want to use it 7 hours. Then I didn't realize it until I received a more expensive bill from the venue. So I think we should always double check the numbers and the date.
We've really heard the real figures, so all different and all expensive. So the second question is, if there are the systems, what's the disease? So in one world, model quality, data access, workflow integration, or organizational trust. So what's the single biggest bottleneck for AI adoption today? So you can pick one and tell us why. Let's go first.
I think it is stability because I'm doing marketing for more than 10 years, and now we are using the AI to do a lot of copywriting and design. So one problem is the AI models keep on updating. So once it's updated, the style change. We need the consistency. We don't want, like last month there's another person doing job, then next month we change that to another. So that's maybe
I feel it's a lot like the early days of the internet when people said, hey, I need a website. And nobody had anybody on their staff who could build a website. So they're literally multi-billion-dollar companies who sprouted up, became public to build websites. And that's kind of where we are with AI, right? None of these enterprises know how to use AI. There's no, and it's day one, and they don't even know how they're going to learn about it. But and I applaud Charlie because the only way we're going to learn about it is just to do it.
Yeah, I would say from the 4 things that Eric mentioned, workflow integration is the one I would pick for the bottleneck. I agree with Lo that many of our clients say the same thing. When they saw AI, they say it's not relevant. Doesn't apply to us. So we never talk about AI when we speak to our clients. We only talk about how we can help you save money and how we can help you make money. That's all they hear. So I think, I'm not sure if you guys heard of the word forward deployed engineer, pretty handy. This is the gap, and it's also the opportunity for any companies that wants to deploy AI. You want to bridge that gap. You have the AI knowledge, you have the AI agent. You need to really dive deep into the industry and pretty much sit down with companies like yours and understand, where you want to automate and really sit down and code with you to bridge that gap and to build a solution just for you, and then learn the industry know-hows from that process, hopefully apply to other companies in the industry.
Yeah, it's a great question as well. I think we are still a couple months, at least one or 2 years away from the true autonomous kind of AGI moment, right? It's not there yet. The only nerds in San Francisco will say that, right? The rest of the world, I think, are not even close. The front company we'll be dealing with, I think the bottleneck is the gap between, they know the frontier labs have pretty strong AI capability, right? It's there. But the diffusion is an AI option. If you speak already said that. Some people just don't, they are very reluctant, right? They don't want to use it if it's not relevant. How AI can help you make more money, reduce costs, how exactly can this work? There's a lot of tooling or methodology like harness engineering, right? The forward engineer is basically an AI version of consultants, right? They work in your office for 6 months, even more to get your workflow fully AI native. While we deal with some of the AI companies, right? We're not a consultant. We don't want to be another McKinsey, PwC ourselves, right? We actually work with some of the PwC consultants, offer products to them, and they let them to actually offer to their clients. We see the bottleneck right now is a lot of companies actually are so embedded with their legacy system in terms of product, software, if something get rid of it, the entire building will shake out. And a lot of people will have panic mode, and a lot of people will essentially fundamentally push back. Because one, some of them actually will lose the job, right? If you're touching data much. Second, there's a lot of data they can't really touch. A lot of software is legacy software. We can't really move around. So there's a few ways we see can make some interesting innovative. One is actually the business owner, the chairman, the biggest shareholder of the company, start a new company. Fully built, fully owned by him, owner. And it's not just, it's doing exactly the same thing, but it's completely from ground up, as AI native. Every single person or agent or workflow they use on this new company is fundamentally ground up AI native from day one, right? So if it didn't work, they just get rid of it. Sunset the new company, right? They try, but it doesn't work out. If it work, this is going to be an interesting way to self-destruct themselves. And I think that's probably the way to let some companies to really stay relevant. Because their existing legacy software product workflow, it's just so difficult to shake that. And it's too intrusive and too disruptive for the existing status quo. People, company have the initiative to push back. And you can't fight it. Because people will lose jobs, products and information will be disrupted. If this thing doesn't work as it looks like, some of the projects doesn't work. It's too early, not mature enough for big enterprise to use it, right? So it's a bunch of all experiments. And what's the safe way is almost no downside to try, is actually start a new company from day one to try, right? If this doesn't work out, nothing happened, right? No downside. The old company still keep doing old things, right? They learn about it, maybe learning the hard way, but it's okay. But for Fortune 500 to fully adopt, like whatever we call this AGI moment, it's going to take a while.
Definitely right. I can agree with you more. So the bottleneck isn't the tech itself, it's a risk, also the opportunity. It's everything around it. So which is why most companies are stuck. Everyone is experimenting with AI right now, but very few have actually moved from experimentation to real deployment. So what's the single thing that separates the companies that made it cross that line from the ones still just experimenting? So be specific, give us this one thing you've actually seen make the difference. So who is seeing these outcomes?
I think this is nothing fancy, it's about money. You know, if AI can help you save money or make more revenue or buy great more customers, company will use more, right? A lot of the enterprise clients we work with is not much one agent, literally from our AI bank, and this now upselling because they see some interesting return on investment, right? It could be just a low-hanging fruit use cases, and eventually you may start implementing more and more things across different departments. So at the bare minimum, low-hanging fruit to try and have something feel, okay, it's an interesting policy feedback loop, and then they can learn more and expand more. So when some business people talk about, oh, I'm gonna reinvent the completely company from day one, just what I said right now, right? Sometimes the easiest way is literally find something which is pretty simple, pretty straightforward to use AI to reduce some other costs, right? Maybe start from, what about just unsubscribe some of your legacy Web2 software? You know, what about using AI agent to build something custom? You don't need to use the legacy software. You stop paying the $500 per month for some Web2 SaaS. Things like that, right? I think some easy win is important. Without those easy win, whatever AGI or AI agent doesn't matter. It's not even relevant.
Yeah, regarding the adoption from experimenting to the real sort of like adoption, I agree with Charlie around, you know, when you go to a company, they already have a legacy software, they have their legacy workflow that's like 20, 30 years old. So it's but we took a different approach. We didn't propose to them and say, adopt us and try something new and reinvent your workflow legacy. We went in and we say, we use our AI to help you automate the workflow you've been using with the legacy software. So basically, we went their way. They used to have a lot of labor using the legacy software to accomplish their work. So we came in and say, we can help you repurpose those employees to higher value jobs, while our agent will take care of the legacy software usage. I think it's the more seamless way to have them adopting new sort of like agents, and also it's a seamless way to help them transition from legacy software to our software. So the first step is, we help them automate their legacy workflow, and the second step is to really short circuit the legacy part, the labor-intensive part, and just do AI native workflow for the second step. So regarding the bottleneck, I think the trust is earned one correct workflow after another. So you cannot go in with a brand new thing and you hope they trust you and deploy your system in their company. You go in with, like Charlie said, low-hanging fruit, and then you win their trust at that low-hanging fruit, and then gradually you sort of like expand internally to hopefully take over more things.
Staying very macro, I think that this is coming like a freight train. And if you think about what the bottleneck is, it's not being there, because if you sit around and you wait until it's a thing, it's too late. And in my view, the best slide that Charlie showed earlier today, I told him this earlier, was when he showed that the point we're at, we're still doing things that don't scale, because we're just trying to learn what does work. And we got to do some of that until we learn what works and what scales.
I learned a lot from you guys, so I will pass this and wonderful, yeah.
Okay, thank you all. So this is a question 5. AI agents are getting more capable every month. So here's the question: what should agents be allowed to do autonomously today, and where do you draw the line that requires human approval? And in 12 months, what will agents be allowed to do that they can't do today? What's your answer?
Okay, I can start. It's about human in the loop question, right? Actually, very different companies have different use cases and different opinions, right? It varies quite a lot. Last couple of weeks, right, I've been in Vegas and San Francisco and talked with a lot of AI practitioners or researchers. They have some radical thinking, right? They talk about everything was stuff. You think human needs to be in the loop. Eventually, AI can do that. Actually can do better. 10 years ago, nobody think coding can be a thing AI can do. Right now, it's actually happening. So on the radical side, you'll be surprised. There's a lot more AI can do to embrace human, to automate the workflow and so on. But on the other side, I do feel that 2% human in the loop is critical. And that's our fundamental design philosophy. For example, you really want to trust AI with certain probabilistic of hallucination to manage your $1 billion fund to do trading. I don't really think human will get that, right? I think that human touch of nuance, perspective, judgment in some critical decision-making process is still needed. To make things completely 100% autonomous, it will lead to chaos. Eventually, especially when we are in this multi-party dynamic world, when hackers from North Korea or when unethical people, scammers can go after all your data in the company, what happens? When you are not even involved in a lot of critical thinking process and decision-making process, one mistake can entirely fundamentally disrupt your company by deleting all your important files, by making a wrong trade losing a lot of money, by sending information to your competitors and so on. So I really don't think 100% non-human in the loop and completely autonomous is the right approach. It's not, well, technology cannot do that. It is about, is this the right product I want to design? So that's kind of how COCO thinks about it. Keep the bare minimum, but the most important for him. Let the repeatable, low level, low value mundane stuff, let the AI do that for you.
Well, from my perspective, low risk, repetitive work is the low-hanging fruit. Save labor is the low-hanging fruit. But in the long run, I don't see the difference between hiring a person and hiring an agent, because people make mistakes.
Yes, we
Like in a company, like Charlie mentioned, like we have like billion-dollar funds, or making the decisions. People make decisions. People make mistakes, and sometimes it can cause like a big crash in the financial market. We heard it in Singapore a couple years ago. So agents make mistakes as well. So the current mechanisms we have to do the review process, to like in the financial institutions more so, because their reconciliation, approval process, it goes multi-layered, and they need to do compliance as well. Same for the agents. Like we're talking about autonomous agents. We're not saying agents are going to do their thing, by their own. There's going to be an architecture. There's going to be an organization. There will be multi-layer approval system. There will be a multi-layer reconciliation system, just like what we have in current companies. So I think 12 months from now, this will start to happen. But the key to get there is the trust. How much do you trust your agents to do things like that and start doing a decision workflow is going to be what it takes to get there.
I was just people make mistakes, and that's why people are accused.
Yeah, I'm not a whole lot to add to what the CW before, but it's early days. I think they're going to be a lot of plane crashes, right? And we're going to learn, we're going to fix for that plane crash, so hopefully it doesn't happen again. But the ways forward feels like inevitable that this is happening. And the winners are going to be the people who are out there running.
Okay, we can skip to the next question.
Okay, we have the last main question. It's a very short question, because I really want to hear from everyone on this stage. Which industry will adopt agentic workflows fastest in next 18 months, and which will resist the longest, and why?
Okay, I will start with one. For the fastest one, I think marketing, because I do the marketing, and I know we always looking for something new. We would like to try new things. So if the AI make mistakes, we can fix it quickly. So definitely for the marketing, because for us the risk is very low. So the slowest should be the healthcare. So there's no room for mistake. So I cannot imagine if it's related to your health, your family members' health. Are you going to trust the AI's decision or take the risk? So it should be the slowest.
Marketing and health.
I think the industry that will adopt it the fastest is the industry that always adopts the fastest, and that's the porn industry. And the slowest will be the U.S. government.
Well, I don't have much experience for many industries, but I have friends and family working in the financial industry, and the things I learned from them working at Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or those big banks is that they resist the adoption of AI so much, and they care so much about their own data and proprietary systems that the speed is restricted basically by those things. So I think financial institutions the big ones are pretty slow. factor to drive adoption is the concentration of talent. How many AI talent, like people on the stage or in this room, are going to be spend their time and effort on? It's going to drive the adoption in that industry. I would say traditional industries are lacking the attention from AIs, but tech industry is going to be the fastest because the concentration is so high.
Yeah, I agree with what most of the other speakers had to say, right? The porn, the gambling, those are the high margin, pure digital industry, from internet or to mobile internet, now to AI, they are adopted fastest because of the money, right? But I think what happened in San Francisco, especially in Palo Alto, right, it's not that industry, it's actually the pure tech, coding agents, right? There's actually all these software engineers, right? They are thinking really in the radical AGI world, or even the post-AGI world, right? People are actually talking about zero-person company, all these radical, crazy, forward-thinking ideas. So, are they real? One industry, I think it's not industry, it's a group of people who thinking in a very forward-thinking, post-AI, AGI world, right? So they are already fully adopted, managing 20 AI agents every day, working for them, right? A lot of them are doing one-person company already, while they have maybe a full-time job, stuff like that. The company industry, I feel they have so much initiative, they probably will be the late adopter. I think it's actually the company, how we can describe it. The other company actually don't like technology by default, because there's a money on the line, they do not want the digital technology to make it transparent. I give you an example. In Singapore, there's a lot of real estate property owners or construction projects. There's a lot of money on the table and stuff like that. The people who are working on this industry just do not want any digital software to touch their business, because you essentially fundamentally disrupt the way how they make money, right? So they're gonna try their best to push back whatever innovation you bring to them. They just don't care. It's not an industry they really need to innovate, because the status of the incumbent want to keep the way how they make money. So I think those kind of industry can be quite a lot of traditional companies, right? Industry, right? Could be construction, could be biotech. I don't know, right? There's a lot of corrupted industry, so to speak, right? The people who actually don't want everything making so transparent, so digitalized. Then AI is doing the work, then you can do the on the table stuff. So it is not technology actually driving forward. It's the human psychology or politics in the industry which is pushing back.
I can agree with you all more, and I think AI cannot replace with money, and the humans still have a very bright future, I think. So, alright, that's our main set. Now I want to open it up to you. So there are 2 ground rules. Keep it to a question, not a speech, and let us know what you'd like to direct it to, which one panelist or all of them. So what's your question?
Anyone?
Okay.
Good.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm really interested in one part in the previous skills, that's the compliance of that part. But I got the question maybe many people would ask. Do you have any idea where the someday maybe in the future that the bot or the platform itself will be ultimately liable for the compliance decisions? And maybe the timeline, of course, it's not something we have today, but I think it will be really helpful for other businesses to adapt such thing if we can really trust the decisions made by the bot.
Sure, great question. I will add on that and maybe some other speaker can follow up on this. So it's essentially talking about there's a word called KYA, know your agents, right? So there's a lot of people argue, no matter how powerful is AI cannot take responsibility. AI cannot go to jail, right? So people who make mistakes, they're gonna be sued, they're gonna go to jail if they really fuck up, right? But the structure right now is getting pretty interesting, because AI agents managed by human, essentially, right? So know your agents essentially still as a proxy know your customer. So the company I just shared on my keynote, right, they actually want to fundamentally understand who is the ultimate owner or benefit of that agent. So if your agent wants to pass the PYA to do transaction, it's essentially the people behind that as well. So it's still another way of KYC. But to your question, right, how to build trust to trust agents to fundamentally important decision made by AI, right? I think it's a long process because now like all the regulators, all the government don't know how to regulate this. And it's a pushback to the Silicon Valley nerds, right? They don't want anybody from the world, like from the DC, from like in Singapore, like from the MAS to touch anything technology. Like because we want ultimate freedom, right? So it's a pushback, it's a wrestling. So for the people who want to stay conservative, people will say you should trust me to make decisions for you, right? So that's kind of the human in the loop kind of argument. But for the people who feel like, okay, there's a lot of mundane things. You don't want people to always make a mundane decision, right? So agent can do a lot of smart things already. So I think this whole trust an agent to make decisions for you in the combined setting, we need some pretty innovative company to push the boundary. Just like another Uber, right? Well, Uber's like all the taxi drivers like, trying to yell at that this is fundamentally bullshit. We should stop this. But guess what? Everybody is Uber right now. So we probably will see another Uber, but in combined setting.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, I think this might be a pretty straightforward thinking process for me. Agents don't operate as a company; they work in the company. So essentially, it's the company that takes the responsibility. But which company is going to be decided by the contract? For instance, for the compliance bot, is it going to be the vendor who developed the bot, or is it going to be the one that buys that bot to do the work? It will be defined in the contract, but it's just like human. It's like whoever makes the mistake, the company bears the cost, and they file bankruptcy if the cost is larger than their asset. Yeah, I think it should be pretty straightforward.
I agree. It will be defined in contracts, agent to agent contracts. Anytime there's any transaction, there will be a contract. And I think we're